Welcome to the Mother-Daughter-ish podcast. It's your mama's favorite podcast.
And the podcast your daughter always wanted.
This is Miss Dawn.
And Angelique.
From the 713. Houston, y'all. Get connected and stay connected weekly as new shows debut on Sunday, Wednesday, and please check out our Saturday Out and About showcases.
Enjoy the show. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, and tell every woman on the planet that you know about our show.
Here's our show for today. Mothers and daughters, guess what? I've got a PSA for you to join us for an amazing meet and greet. Join Mothers and Daughters and the International Ladies of Purpose for a special meet and greet on May the 17th at Black Rock Coffee Bar. That is the one that's located at 7075 Highway 6 North. It's in Houston, Texas, 77095. That's on the west side of Houston. We're going to be there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Come and connect with us. Come and network with us. Come and meet and greet other nonprofit leaders and for-profit business owners in various communities around Houston. Also learn more about everyone's mission, how they empower other women, how they are uplifting communities. Whether you're passionate about personal growth, professional development, or simply want to meet like-minded individuals, this is absolutely the Saturday event for you. Mark your calendars, and we'll see you there at the Black Rock Coffee Bar, located at 7075 Highway 6 North, Houston, Texas, 77095, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Make sure you bring plenty of cards, plenty of postcards, plenty of flyers if you've got events coming up, plenty of everything to share with everyone that will be in attendance. I'll see you soon. Bye. Hey, mothers and daughters, I have another amazing woman around the globe to introduce you to today. And I tell you, this series has been so amazing because just like you, I have learned so much from these amazing women, and I'm continuing to learn every single day that I do this. So welcome my amazing guest. Thank you for being here today. I will give you the opportunity to not only introduce yourself, but let us know where you're originally from, where you are now, but then we're going to dig into all of the other amazing places that you have been having the opportunity to visit and live.
Well, thank you so much, Dawn. It is such a pleasure to be here with you and your community. My name is Lori Granito, for those of you who have never clapped eyes on me before. I am originally from New Orleans. I lived for 28 years in Hong Kong.
Mhm.
I am currently, as we are speaking, in France. I am near the Swiss border, in the French Alps, which is where my husband's family is from. And we are in the process of permanently moving here. But I've been around. I consider myself location independent up until now, since we left Hong Kong. And I am a business strategist and mentor, as well as a speaker coach. I'm a 4-time TEDx speaker. I'm a great believer in stories that you tell are stories that sell. And so I help people to monetize their stories on incredible platforms.
That is so awesome. Now, let me ask you, what was that in you when you were in New Orleans that said, I'm going to move and live somewhere else? Because, some people, they never leave their zip code. They never leave their state. They never leave their town. What happened that made you say, I want to be location independent because I can?
Well, I think for me, it started very, very early. I actually was an exchange student when I was 16. I went to France. And actually, I only started studying French because every time I selected Spanish, they kept giving me French. And so by the time I got to high school, the high school I went to was very strict that you had to have 3 years of one language and 1 year of another language. And since I already had 1 year credit, I thought, well, I may as well continue with French.
Right.
So I did go as an exchange student, and then I wound up going to university when I was 18 in France, in Paris.
Okay.
And that was really because I just wanted something different. I'm a girl from the projects. And like, I'd had, some experiences having been able to go overseas and stuff like that, but I wanted to really see the world in a way that I had not seen before. And so I literally just like picked the farthest school that accepted me. And I was like, that's where I'm going.
That's where
Uh,
I love
and so, yeah, and so that was how I wound up in France. And then I wound up coming back to New Orleans
it.
after a couple of semesters, and I met my husband.
Okay.
And we just celebrated our 34th anniversary, been together 38
Congratulations.
years.
Awesome.
Thank you. And he is French. And so I do spend a lot of time in France, but like I said, we spent 28 years in Hong Kong.
Now, when you say French, are you saying Louisiana French or are you saying French as in French French?
So he's French. He's from like right here, France.
Okay, got because there's a lot of Creoles
Yeah.
in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty amazing. And you said you spent some time. Now you said 26 years in Hong Kong.
28.
28 years. Let's talk about that. How did you get to Hong Kong? And was that after university or?
Yeah, so after I met my husband in New Orleans, he about 5 years after we had been together, we both wanted to travel.
Mhm.
And one of his chefs, because my husband is a chef, he was sent to New Orleans as the resident chef for a 3-star Michelin chef in France.
Okay.
When they were winding that down, one of his chefs had already moved to Asia. His pastry chef had moved to Asia and
Okay.
was living in Macau and kept telling him how great it was and all of this kind of stuff. And so we were looking for places in Asia, and our criteria was basically it had to be somewhere where I would have the option to work if I wanted to.
Right.
And it had to be somewhere that was not like Saudi Arabia, that was, I had to be walking 2 steps behind you or something like that.
Right.
So, and so so his pastry chef kept telling us how great Macau and Hong Kong were. And so we thought that would be kind of cool to go to Hong Kong or, somewhere in Asia. And he had gotten a couple of different offers. One was in Korea,
Mhm.
South Korea, and so we wound up in Hong Kong. It was supposed to be for 2 years.
Okay.
2 years turned into 4, turned into 10, turned
Turn
into
into 28.
yes, exactly. So it
Right.
went by really fast.
I tell you, I can understand how you liked Hong Kong because I went and I visited Hong Kong and I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed the people, I enjoyed everything about it. I had no bad experience at all. So I can understand how that turned into this, that turned into that. But that's a pretty unique story. You said it's supposed to be 2 years and then you tell me you're there for 28. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's that's a great experience. Well,
Yeah. Well, part of it was because I wound up starting a business and my business just took off.
okay, okay.
And that was kind of what kept us there for much longer than we planned.
Okay, well, I'm sure it was a great experience though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What type of business was it that you started? The one that you have now?
I was in the food business.
Oh,
I
in
was
food
in
business. I
the
knew you were chef. That's perfect.
restaurant and catering business. So I
Okay.
started off with a catering business and transitioned that to restaurants. And then by the time I left Hong Kong, we had like 120 staff across 8 outlets.
What type of restaurants? American restaurants or
So
so
when I first started out, I had a Cajun restaurant was what I started out as. That was
nice?
originally what I had, but I had by the time I left, I had a small little chain of burrito restaurants, like
Mm,
Mission style burrito restaurants with a couple of partners, and then I had a cafe. I also had a cooking school where we did corporate team building. And
mhm.
then I had an incubator. So if you think about like a tech incubator,
Yeah.
this was the same concept, but for food entrepreneurs. So we had the large commercial kitchen and then startup food entrepreneurs, because I was very involved in the startup scene in Hong Kong. And so we provided a way for food entrepreneurs to start their businesses up without having to put like, tens of thousands of dollars of
Right.
outlay
Right.
to get started because they didn't have a license, because licensing is very hard in Hong Kong. So we
I
provided the
imagine.
license and all of that kind of stuff. So we had
That is
businesses across different sectors.
That's very exciting. Now, know that you've moved to different places, but I'd like to know, as you've gone to these different places and as you're getting ready to be permanent there in France, what are you doing to build community where you go?
Well, one of the things that I have done here in France is because, and I will say that the town where my husband is from is, it's kind of like a geriatric town.
Okay. Retired, retirees,
So
huh?
it's the retirees, right? So there's not a lot. We do have friends here, but there's not a lot for us to do.
Okay.
Except for once a year, they do have this summer concert that's outside, and they had Lenny Kravitz there last year.
Okay.
Um, so it's like one of the biggest music festivals in France.
Okay.
Um, what I have started doing we just did our first one last October.
Okay.
So I put on a conference called Rise to Millions, and that conference is meant to bring my clients as well as people who are in France
Mm-hmm.
a opportunity to learn from entrepreneurs and women who are, just doing amazing things around the globe. And we did that first conference in Paris last October. We had people that came from Dubai, from New Zealand, from
Uh-huh.
Bali,
Uh-huh.
from Japan.
Oh my
um,
gosh.
Australia. So we had and obviously from the US as well. And
Yes.
so I started building my community of women entrepreneurs that are here in France. I'm in quite a few Facebook groups, obviously, of women entrepreneurs. One of my clients, before I decided that I wanted to move here, she's American, but she's actually lived in Nice for a really long time.
Okay.
Um, and so I try to make those connections that way. And then one of my VAs currently now is based out just outside of Paris. And so I'm slowly starting to build up that network of people who are here that I can connect with. And so that when obviously most of my business is in Paris, but
Yeah.
one of the things that we are going to do when we move here permanently is we're looking to buy a chateau.
Nice.
And that would be a space where we can create retreats and
Yeah,
where people can come in and host their own retreats at the chateau. And
absolutely.
so that's why we're kind of building those connections. And that'll probably be in close, more in the south of France because I don't like to be cold.
Me either. Me either. The hotter, the better. When's your next conference?
October 3rd to 5th in Paris. And
If
I
you're
have
looking for speakers, let me know. That would be,
October
that would
3rd
be
to 5th in
awesome.
Paris. And then I'm actually doing a retreat the week before that in Morocco.
Oh, awesome.
Um,
Okay. I'll be
and
in Morocco the month of September because September is my birthday
September,
month. So
yeah,
I'll be
the
there for the
20.
whole month in Morocco. Okay.
Oh, really? Oh,
I'll be there the whole month. I celebrate the entire month for my birthday. So this year, at first I thought maybe I'll go to Sri Lanka for 2 weeks and then go to Morocco for 2 weeks. And I said, I'm just gonna go to Morocco for the whole month instead of
oh,
splitting it up and having to get on because the flights are so long. And I'm like, I just want to go and I've already kind of got everything laid out. I've already connected with a few ladies that I'm gonna connect with when I get over there. Actually, I interviewed one right here on the series, but I'll be gone the month of September because
okay. Well, we're going to be in Marrakesh from 21st to 27th.
and my birthday
And
is on the 24th, so I will definitely be there at the same time. We will have to connect.
yes,
We will have to
see
connect.
the serendipity. Like,
And you know what they say, nothing just happens.
nothing just happens.
Yeah.
Nothing just happens.
Well, that's
So,
a
yeah,
great
I'll
way
be
to
doing
build your
that retreat.
community. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be doing that retreat there. So that's about half sold out now.
Okay.
And actually the first retreat, I've done retreats all over the world, but this is actually the very first retreat that I'm doing that is, I'm doing it exclusively for Black women.
Yes.
Most of my retreats are very, very co-ed. I have clients from all over the globe. So this one is a little bit different, a little bit special. Then I'm actually doing another conference at the end of this month
Okay.
in New Orleans. So yes, I will be flying straight from France back
Oh,
to New Orleans for another event.
well, keep me in mind if you're ever looking to get speakers or anything like that. Let me know because
Okay.
I've been a speaker for nearly 30 years now, and I have a lot of great information to share with women. Now, I'll tell you, my specialty is the income part of it. I'm a grant writer, but I'm also a person who contracts my services out for multi-million dollars to different agencies, entities, governments. And so I don't understand why people don't take their talents and contract their services out instead of having to look for clients. You can already have that work done. So that's kind of
Absolutely.
my specialty, is showing women how to bring in those multi streams of income and, things like that. But I like the way that you're building that community, because it's also a way that you're helping women to elevate themselves as well. But then also you're creating something that's an annual event that people can look forward to. And I love
Yeah.
the fact that you're kind of traveling around. You've got your retreat, you've got your conference in New Orleans, you have the one that you're doing in Paris. I think that's absolutely wonderful. Now, since you're going to be moving to France permanent, do you have family that will come and visit you?
Well, my son is French, so he's half French, I
I
should
mean, like your,
say.
your
Um,
cousins and your aunties and people
well,
that
I have
in
well, I
the
have
States.
one of my cousins who like travels
Oh, good.
every 2 weeks, it feels like, when you see her on Facebook, right? She just got back from Egypt. And she owns like a string of daycare centers. So I am sure that we are going to have, people who are coming here to visit. But I will be honest with you, like when I was in Hong Kong, we would always tell people, if you come to visit, you cannot stay with us. Like
Get you a hotel, right?
I'm like an introverted extrovert. Like, yeah, you can,
I
like, we can
understand.
meet up, but I need my space.
I understand. I am the same way. I just said to someone the other day, I said I'm an extroverted introvert, meaning when I'm out, it's on. But when I'm in my space, it's off, because I just want to be quiet and mind my business when I'm in my house. But
Absolutely.
that's just the way it
Absolutely.
is.
And that's one of the reasons when we do, that we're looking at buying something large like a manor house or chateau,
Yes.
so that we can have space, even if we're renting out part of it, or if we have family that's coming.
Right.
My son may actually move here as well.
Okay.
Um, so they're currently in Boston. So, we want to make sure that we have space for everyone to be able to come and visit. And at that point we would be ready to receive people because we have more space. But
Absolutely.
Hong Kong was small. Like, we had, like, when we first moved there, we had two small bedrooms.
Yeah.
And then
There's a lot of Asian apartments, homes. Some of them are very small. And
yeah, so I mean, we were lucky. The first one we had was like 700 square feet, which is not
fair,
tiny, tiny, but
no,
it's
that's a fair
okay.
size. I mean,
Um,
700 square feet here in Texas right now is going for about $2,500 a month. So it is the hottest, one bedroom type of
wow.
situation in the US right now, which I don't know how they're getting away with that. There's no way in the world that I understand. My poor 25-year-old son, I'm like, I'm so sorry. You have got to pay that kind of rent in a place that's just a box, basically. It's
Yeah.
situated cute and it's really cozy. Looks like a little tiny house on the inside, but man, that didn't used to be that expensive. So I hope that the rent for the young kids will come down at some point. But
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that my son is looking at now, because they do pay a lot in Boston. And so now he's in finance. So finding somewhere that's in Europe that is, he'll probably land somewhere like in Zurich or
yeah,
um
yeah,
or Paris, but obviously France would be better for us if, in terms of logistics wise.
absolutely. Let's talk about food. One of my favorite things to talk about,
Yeah,
other than business, but food. Now, you're from New Orleans, so you're used to really, really, really good Cajun food and things like.
I am.
Are you missing anything, or have you created your own little Cajun haven right where you are? Because different places have different spices, and I know everywhere we go just about now, you can find a little piece of culture in those places. But what's your favorite food in France now?
Um, oh, that's kind of hard. I don't miss anything because I've always been able to, like, either source or make stuff, and as I said, when I was in Hong Kong, I had a Cajun restaurant. That was how I made my millions of dollars,
Hmm.
was in the restaurant business.
Hmm.
So I had access, well, initially, I used to travel back and forth like
And
every two
bring
months.
things
And
back.
I would have like those, those big ice chests that they have
Yes.
on the boats. I
Yes.
would literally have like two of those ice chests, and it would be filled with
Cool
like
thing.
one would have like pecans and dry and Tony Chachere's and gumbo filet and all the stuff I couldn't find. And then the other one would have like actual food in it, like crawfish or whatever I had to bring. But eventually, as Hong Kong grew, because when I first got there, I got there in like 92.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing. There was nobody supplying that kind of stuff.
Of
So
course not.
eventually we started being able to find suppliers, so I didn't have to be schlepping it, halfway around the world. But yeah, I did that for like years and
Wow.
years.
Yeah,
But I was still able to get what I needed, right?
that's good.
Um, and then here in France, my husband, as I said, my husband is. I always say I cook. My husband is chef. My husband has actually worked with a lot of three-star Michelin restaurants. He's retired now. I actually retired him before we moved to Vietnam.
Mhm.
When we left Hong Kong.
Okay.
And but he has been he's worked with some of the top chefs in the world. And so I don't know, for me, when I'm in France, the one thing that I appreciate the most is that everything is seasonal and everything is fresh. So today we had like today is market day, Saturday. So
Okay.
to go to the market, get cheese from the cheesemonger, fish from the fish guy. So we've got like, beautiful fish for lunch tomorrow. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and and mussels, you're able to get things like that. Bread, of course. you know,
Oh,
um, checking out a new bakery today. So it's just, I think it's really like the simple things.
yes, but the things
You
that
know,
that bring you comfort and you love to, have it.
yeah. I mean, when I'm traveling, when I'm in Paris, we do enjoy going to like, fancy schmancy restaurants.
Hmm.
But honestly, for us, because we are so picky, we literally prefer to like go to the supermarket and get our own stuff
And cook it.
and and just like cook for ourselves and or go to the market. And one of the things that we do a lot here, because the other thing that is on uh, my board of what our plans for the next 3 to 5 years is launching a champagne brand.
Love it.
And so,
I love it.
and so we're always looking for new labels, always looking for new things new ones to try. And we spend a lot of time in Champagne as well, at least,
Oh,
probably 3 to 4 weeks out of the year.
okay.
And so that's a fun thing for us. We try, do different pairings and things like that.
I love that. And you know what? I connect with you so well when you say in the next 3 to 5 years, because that's where my brain is always, okay, here, I know what I'm doing this year and next year, but 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, I love that you're a planner like that. That excites me.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's talk about work. I have two things that women always say to me, and one of them is if I move to a different country or if I leave my small town or whatever, I may not be able to find a husband or I may not be able to have a family because, I'm not familiar with whatever. And then the other thing they'll say is, well, I can't find a job online because they're just all not available or something I want to do. My company won't transfer me because they don't have a place over there or they don't want to transfer. And I don't know how to create my own business. I'm going to try to work on it, but I kind of want to go this year. I don't want to wait for another 2 years. What are you doing that's exciting you when it comes to work? I know that you've been really wonderful at building your own businesses, but I need for women, other women to understand that these things are literally possible. There are women that are doing it. There are those of us that can literally pick up this laptop and work from any corner of the earth.
Yeah.
Tell me about
Well,
what,
I will
'cause I know
tell
you're
you,
on the way.
I was not always able to do that.
Right.
And it does take a mindset shift. So when I was in Hong Kong, my businesses were brick and mortar businesses.
Right.
Like I had locations, I
That
had
was in, but that was in the 90s though, right?
no, this is in up until 2019.
Oh,
This
up
is up
until
until
2019. Okay, got it.
2019.
Got it.
I left Hong Kong in 2019,
Okay.
and when we moved, I literally had taken my son for college tours, and I remember the plane was landing in Hong Kong, and it kind of hit me that we didn't have to be there anymore because my son was going to university and we wanted him to finish school in Hong Kong, his high school in Hong Kong. So he was going to be going off to university. I had, at that time, I had started my coaching business. Which was a total fluke. I kind of fell into it. And then I had 120 staff, and like I still have my assistant who's been with me for 20 years now in Hong Kong. And so, and they didn't need me. Like we had, I got reports every day. We had, video cameras if I wanted to check on anything. And if it was a real emergency, one of the reasons that we decided to move to Vietnam first, because our plan was to move somewhere every 6 months to see where we wanted to live when we retired. That was kind of the plan. And so from that time of me, the plane landing and me realizing I didn't have to be there anymore, within 6 weeks, I had sold, gave away, or put into storage every single thing we had. And we moved to Vietnam with 5 suitcases.
Okay.
And I retired my husband. I was like, you don't have to work. And my staff were there. And if there was an emergency, the reason we chose Vietnam, we were just outside of Da Nang in Hoi An. I still have an apartment there. Yeah. Was because I could be on a plane and be in my office before lunch, and then be on a plane in the evening and be back home before 10 p.m.
Got it.
And so that was why we chose the location that we chose. Okay. And then just right after we did that, Hong Kong went up in flames with the pro-democracy protests. So that within 6 months of us being like, yeah, we're good. We got our staff. We ain't got no worries. We wound up having to close, sell off, or just take a loss on every single business we had. Because there was no business in Hong Kong. The restaurants it was awful.
How long did that last?
It was 6 months. 6 months. It started it kicked off late June until end of December. And when I tell you it was like war zone.
What year was that?
This is 2019.
In 2019. So right before okay.
Right before COVID. Yeah. And so we had, and so that was, it was just like this whole series of things. So put my son in university in August. September, I had a retreat in Tuscany. October, my dad passed away. And then, and so we wanted my mom, and so all this while this is going on, my businesses in Hong Kong are shuttered, and you're not letting staff go because you don't know if it's going to tomorrow it's going to end or whatever. Right. So you're paying staff, still paying rents, etc. And then we didn't want my mom to be on her own, obviously, for the first holidays after my dad passed. So we came back in November and December. In January, we were going back to Vietnam, and then I had a client that was here in Arizona and in Sedona, and she said, "Can you come over? Can you fly out? I need your help with some business stuff." So my husband went back to Hong Kong to deal with some of the business stuff, and I went to Sedona, and then we came back to New Orleans and met, and then COVID. And we got locked out of our apartment. We got locked out of Vietnam because Vietnam closed its borders.
Shut down. Ooh.
So it was just like this comedy of things. But what all of that did for me, and this goes back to your, what you were talking about, this long-winded way of getting around to it, is that I found myself in a situation where I had no money, still had to pay staff, still had to pay rent. My son is now in this 75 grand a year university in Boston. And I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to make this work? Right. And I was very, very fortunate that I had started this coaching business because I literally had to think outside of the box, and I had to think, okay, how can I do this? And I created an offer that eventually that offer, but that was the first year that I actually made $1 million in my coaching business, but it was by necessity. And so for people who want to move abroad, and, I say we all have some sort of monetizable skill,
That's
even
right.
if you don't know what it is.
Right.
You need to get somebody to help you. One of the best things that I ever did for my business, was when my first coaching client was this lady. I had just won this Entrepreneur of the Year award. I remember it clear as day. I had gotten off the stage. We were at the Four Seasons. This lady walks up to me, puts a check in my hand, and she says, "Will you coach me?" Now, like most of us do, when we're really good at something, you don't even think like, you ain't got to pay me for that, right? Which is exactly what I told her. I was like, you ain't got to pay me for
No,
that.
I've never said those words ever.
Come to the Women Entrepreneurs Network.
I've never
I'll
said
help
that.
you. Well, at the time, I was only coaching people for TEDx and speaking.
Got it.
And so I was not doing business coaching, but I was a member of the board of directors for the Women Entrepreneurs Network in Hong Kong for many, many years.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
so every month we had these events where you could come, people would pay to go there, and then we would have like experts, and then they would have, kind of the senior business women would have what they call circles, and you'd have like 10 to 12 people in your circle, and they could ask you questions about their business.
Right, right.
So I just told her, I was like, you ain't gotta pay me for that. Just, come to the event on Friday and I'll help you with your business thing. Because I wasn't doing business coaching then, right?
Right.
And she said, no, I don't want all those people. I just want to be able to ask you questions. I want you to help me.
I don't
So I
want.
was like, well, bloody hell. I like, now this is different, right? So I'm like, I got this lady's check. And then at the time, actually, I was not coaching TEDx yet. I had this lady, my first TEDx client, who was chasing me because she had tried for 5 years to get on TEDx,
Oh,
and she kept getting rejected. And so she had asked me if I would help her. And I didn't know what to charge her. Like, it's like I don't know. And so she was chasing me to find her. So then I have this lady and I have the lady with the check. And so I think I got to go and get me a coach, because I know how to run a business, but I don't know nothing about the coaching business. Like you don't know what you don't know, right?
right.
And so I found this lady on Facebook. I was like, she looked like she know what she's doing. She had her little counter on her, you know how they have the countdown counter. And I remember the program was $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in January, and I had just, we'd done our dividends for the year before. And that was one of our slowest years. We made across our businesses, we made $1.54 million. And the profits my portion that I got of the profits, because I still had the lion's share of the shares, was like $272,000. But it was gone. It was like, once I calculated for like how much we would need for our rent for the year, my son had just transferred from the French school to the American school, which was more expensive. And then both of my parents were sick. My dad had a brain tumor. My mom had breast cancer. So we were helping them in the US with that. And so it was like, it was gone. It was like, how what that's like you get a check and before it hits your bank, like it's all gone.
It's already
right?
planned. Right.
It's already planned out.
Yep.
So I was thinking, I cannot afford this, but I need help because I don't know what I'm doing, right? I don't know if I'm charging right. I don't know if I can say the same stuff that I say when I'm in these circles where people are not paying me, right? And I got in her program. I remember I had to call them. The counter was counting down, and put it on multiple cards. And then I got in the program, and their first event was in Hawaii.
Oh.
It was because they'd had every 3 months, every quarter, they had these events around the world, right? And the event was in Hawaii, and I didn't have any more money. Like I'd gotten in the program, but I didn't have any more money. So I was like, how the hell am I going to get there? And I have a girlfriend, she's still in Hong Kong now. She actually worked for United, and she put me on as a pass rider.
Awesome.
I had never in my life flown standby. I drove her crazy that first flight. I got to the
I
airport. I
bet.
was like, do I need to go let them know I'm here? Are they going to remember I'm here? What do I do? What if I can't get on the flight? She was like, stop calling me. They're going to call your name. And I was like, what happens to my bag if I don't get on a plane?
Oh my God, you had a
I
lot
was
of worries, but I don't blame you because I've never done it either, but I'd be just that nervous, I'm
like,
sure.
I was so nervous. And so anyway, I did not get on the first flight because the flight I was trying to get
It was
on was
cool.
to Guam because it's
Oh,
Hong Kong to Guam and then Guam to to Maui.
right, right.
Um, that flight I could not get on. So they put me on this flight from Hong Kong to San Diego, to San Francisco, Hong Kong to San
Okay.
Francisco.
Mhm.
And then I had went from there to Maui. But as you know, going to San Francisco, you fly over Hawaii.
You saw my mind going like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
that.
And wait a minute. And that's exactly when I got to when I got to immigration, the guy goes, where are you going? Where are you coming from? I said, Hong Kong. And he said, so where's your final destination? I said, Maui. And he
And
went,
it's like you already passed them.
he was like,
You
you're
know,
like,
when
I
things
was
like that
fast.
happen, it just puzzles my brain because I was looking at a flight to Phuket, and from Houston to Phuket, I could have got a straight flight, but then I was trying to be cheap, and I said, okay, I'm going to book this one, but then it was saying it was going here, and then it was going to go there, and then I was going to get there, and I said that makes no sense. I'm going to pay the extra fee because I don't want to fly over somewhere that I'm trying to go to. And I know they do it for a reason, but that didn't make sense.
Yeah, it didn't.
Yeah, but
And I was just like, I just told guys like, don't ask, right? And I just was grateful, like, okay,
right,
I got here for like whatever it was, like $75 or
right,
something,
right,
right?
right, right.
And it was this this conference was like all these women coaches, right? I'm new to coaching, like I'm, even though I've been mentoring women for 25
Right.
years,
Now you're going
I
to the big leagues.
now you're doing it for money, like you can't be like willy-nillying it, right?
Wow.
And so I I rock up to this conference, and I had also applied for, they had this one day because at the time I was 49,
Mm,
about to turn 50 in May, and I thought, and I had already lost everything twice. So I had built my businesses up. I built four multi-million-dollar businesses, but I always tell people I lost everything twice, like down to I could not afford to buy diapers one time, you know. And so my thinking was I cannot afford to make any more mistakes.
right.
So I need to get that help, right? And so they had this day, it was called Manifesting in Maui, and it was supposed to be like high level, help for your business.
Hmm.
And so I thought I have to be one of the eight people. There was only eight spots. I have to be one of eight people. So I applied, cobbled together like a payment plan with these people,
Hmm.
and got in. They selected me. I got in. And I remember first when I first walked into the event, it was like, I'm this black girl, I'm coming from Hong Kong, right? And I walk in and it's just a whole sea of like, all I could see was like blonde, skinny people, and then there was a table of bougie, gorgeous black women. And and I was like, I am in the wrong place. Like all these people know what they're doing. I'm like, even though I'm in business, like I just felt so, and I felt like I was one of the oldest people in the room as well.
Okay, okay.
And so it was an interesting experience because it was, I kind of had to like find my way. And now some of those women have become my absolute best friends from there. Right. But it was a funny experience. And I always tell them when we reminisce about that, I was like, yeah, you at this table, you at that table. But when I got to the day like that we had paid for, and we paid $5,000 for this day, for
Hmm.
like this VIP day.
Hmm.
And so she went around to everybody. She came to me and she was like, okay, what can I help you with? And I said, well, I have this lady who gave me a check. I have this other lady who is chasing me.
Hmm.
And, I'm not quite sure what to charge them. And she said, well, what are you thinking to charge them? And so I told her, and she said, well, how did you come up with that number? And I was like, well, I'm smart. I looked around the internet. That's the average of what people are charging.
Hmm.
And so she asked me, well, are you average?
Exactly.
And I went, oh, no. And she said, well, are you available for me to tell you how much you should be charging? And I was like, okay. So she told me, and I looked at her like she had three heads.
Yeah, because she probably told you to add another or two zeros.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so I was like, ain't nobody gonna be paying that. And she was like, I said, well, I've been in Hong Kong at the time like 22 years, and I don't know people who charge that and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, well, look, I'm gonna tell you that is what based on your expertise, what you should be charging. She said, once you get five people to pay you, you increase your price by 50%.
There you
And
go. There you go. She's right.
and I said, well, I don't know if I can find five people. She said, there's 7 billion people on the planet. You can go find five.
You can go find five.
And I will tell you, at the end of the year, just from that one experience, I wound up, because I calculated from what I would have been charging, before going to that day, and what I actually made, and the difference was $67,000.
I'm so glad you went to that conference, because that's the one thing that I notice is that when I'm coaching different people, I notice that they'll, give me their plan or whatever, and I'll say different things, and then I'll say, I think you should add a zero, and they get so nervous, like sweaty palms and everything, and I'm like, let me tell you why though. And then once I break it down to why, they're like, you know what, you're right. Because one thing you never want to do is you don't want to be the cheapest one in the room, because everybody will take advantage of that, but you know that you're more of a superstar than that. So did that kind of kick off you having an online business?
Yeah, it did. And so I wound up doing, I mean, I wasn't, it was essentially, she was telling me to increase my price by like 50%, because I think I wanted to charge 3,000, which for me was like so much money. Like already I was scared to charge that.
Right.
Then, my first price point, she said, should have been $5,000.
Right.
And I didn't have the time to be going to people. Like that was not the business I wanted, because remember, I had a restaurant business. I had over 100 staff, right? So I can't be going to somebody's office, and that's all time. That's the other thing, was like I saw people who are executive coaching, and like you got to get dressed, you got to go there, you got to wait for them, often late, and then you chit chat, and then that's not an hour, right? That's now 3 hours.
No, that's 3 or 4
So
hours. And then don't even
yeah,
count the time that it took you to get prepared to go there and then your way
exactly.
back. So add another 2 hours on to that 3 hours. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I will tell you though that when I got back to Hong Kong,
Uh-huh.
I was the lady who had been chasing me, who had tried to get on TEDx for 5 times. I sent her, she was still calling me and chasing. So anyway, I was like, okay, I'm gonna email her. So I put the price in that the lady told me, and then I took the price out. I was like, that lady don't know what she's talking about. This lady gonna cuss me out if I send her this price. So I'm putting it in, I'm taking it out, putting it in, taking it out. I do this for like a day and a half. So finally, I just think, okay, F it. And so I just send it to her.
Uh-huh.
And I got crickets for 3 days. And then I got an email that says, I got your proposal. I think we need to talk.
Okay.
When are you available? That's all it said. I thought, this lady is about to like tell me a new one. Like, who do you think you are? How can you be charging? Whatever.
No.
So I told her, okay, 4 o'clock, I'll call you. Don't call me. Like, I need to get my courage up.
Right.
I call her. And I go, and she said, so yeah, I got your proposal. And I said, yeah. And she said, and I have a question for you. And I was like, oh God, here we go. And I said, okay. And she said, can I pay you in 2 installments?
See, that's what I'm
And I
talking
went,
about. And I'm going to tell you, I have a particular program that I do that's $5,500. And the last thing that I'll say on the phone with individuals that call me because they've been referred by someone is I'll say, oh, and by the way, I do installments. And they go, I didn't want to ask you. I was too ashamed to ask you, but thank you so much. We can move forward now. And I didn't used to do that. I used to not give any kind of installment. It was pay the flat fee because you're not paying me by the hour, pay the flat fee and we can move on. But what I noticed is that it was cutting out a whole group of individuals that could do the installment. And so
yeah,
once I tried it and it worked out and they kept their word, I kept my word, everything went great. then I started just making sure I sprinkle that in at the end of the conversation. And every time they go, I didn't want to ask you, I was too embarrassed. I'm like, no, don't ever be embarrassed. No, you don't have to pay that up.
Absolutely.
You can't. And I've even had ladies that I'll say, okay, I'll give you 3 installments. And they'll say,
Yeah.
great. But accountability, I'll send them a form that says, here are the dates that they're going to pay. That way, when they sign that and send it back to me, I don't even worry about it anymore. It's as if
Yeah.
we had the conversation. Nobody needs to know what you're doing. We can move forward. So how shocked were you when she said that?
I was, I mean, I will say every single time I have increased my price and somebody said yes, I
Yes.
have
You
been,
see?
I
Yep.
have been like, I can't believe it. The first time she was the first time that somebody paid me 5,000. The next like big increase I had was this lady who paid me 15, no, $9,000. She paid me
Yes.
$9,000. That was on my birthday in Thailand. I will never forget it. I was in Thailand and I just took her call because I was not feeling like she had already told me no at
Okay.
least actually. And then she called and I was like, okay, well, let me just talk to her, see, what she wants. And she said, I had to think about it and I think I do want to go ahead, but I just been thinking, do I want to do like the payment? Do I want to do 3 months or 6 months? And I was like, well, how long do you think it's going to take you to get the result you want? And she's like, yeah, I guess I better do the 6 months. How do you want me to pay you?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the best birthday gift. And then the next
Best birthday
big
gift.
jump I had was somebody that paid me 25,000, which I actually talked myself. I competed against myself
Uh-huh.
for the $5,000. And we had been kind of tag teaming, trying to get each other. I was in an Uber on the way to the airport. And she was telling me, like, I'm listening to her, telling me all the stuff that she needs help with. I'm
Right.
thinking, I don't even have anything like that right now. And that's a lot of work. Like, I'm just running it through my brain. And if she finishes and she goes, how much would you charge for that? Thinking, I
You
was
have
like,
to
well,
think quick on
based
your
on,
feet.
yeah, I mean, I'm like, based on what you've told me, that would probably be like 30 grand. But
Yeah.
I didn't have enough confidence in myself, and I won't say not in myself, but in speaking that price because I had never done it before, right? I just thought that it was like and going to be an automatic no. And I said, well, based on what you've told me, that's like 30 grand worth of work.
Right.
But if you pay me in full, I'll give it to you for 25.
Right. 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 Right.
And she went, yeah, that's about what I thought it would cost.
Yeah. So is that what you
Damn it,
so
she
is
would have
that
paid 30.
exactly. So is that what you're doing right now? You're coaching and doing your online business now?
Yeah, so I do a couple of different things. So my
Okay.
main business is mastermind coaching, business coaching,
Okay.
and business strategy. But I couple that with how people can utilize speaking as a tool to grow their business. So for
Absolutely.
me, speaking is the same as a book or anything. It's not the means to an end. I actually have a pet peeve with people who, like say, I just want to be a speaker because you can only speaking is kind of like basketball. There's a lot of people who can play it, but there's not a lot of people that are going to be making millions and millions of dollars from it, right?
Right.
And so you have to have your other engine. You need to understand how to leverage speaking so that you can actually make a lot of money from it.
That's right.
And not just from the speaking gig, but from selling from the stage, from your programs, from your courses. So I help people connect their messaging, their expertise
Wow.
to how to actually grow their first 7-figure business. I mean, I've built 4 multi-million-dollar businesses, and so that's my wheelhouse. But I connect it to speaking. I also help people we've helped over 50 people land TEDx talks, so that's another one of my expertises.
Okay.
Um,
Now,
and
when you did your TEDx talk, what did you speak on?
my first one was on entrepreneurship.
Uh-huh.
The second one was called "The Biggest Bully Is You."
Okay.
And that was about how we can be assholes to ourselves when we, we don't show ourselves the same kind of compassion and grace as we do, our friends, and how we need to be better at that. And then the other ones were kind of iterations of that and around entrepreneurship and things like that.
Love,
Um,
I love that. We have a lot in common because one thing that I do when I'm coaching, if somebody tells me they're going to write a book or whatever, I will say Do not come to me if you don't want me to show you how to bring in 12 incomes from one idea, because I don't
Yeah.
believe that you just write a book and you just write a book. You have to look at all the different 12 and I just use 12 because that's just a good number. You have to look at all the different income streams that can come from that, as well as being a speaker, all the incomes that can come from that, as well as any other kind of business. You can always come up with at least 12 income streams. I think that that's very valuable of what you're teaching people, because most people don't think like that. They think, okay, I'm going to be a speaker and that's it. I'm just going to speak. I'm not going to create all these other streams of income. But if they didn't learn anything else during COVID, they should have learned you need multiple incomes so that when one is disrupted, then at least you have the other ones trickling in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reality is that for, and what I try to give people a reality check is like the average speaker makes around $105,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you count in taxes, you count in the time that you are traveling, even if your expenses are being paid, you still spending money somewhere, right? You're still going to have some additional expenses.
Even if that
And
means you buy a new wardrobe, or you have all, for women, we
absolutely,
have all of our maintenance and all of those things. Because one thing
absolutely.
you will not do is you will not catch me on a stage in the same outfit you saw me in on a stage last year. You will
Yeah.
not catch
Yeah.
you will
And
not
so
catch
by the
that.
time you factor all of that in, you're only going to clear $30,000 to $40,000. And
Perhaps.
that's not freedom money.
Mm-mm.
That is not freedom money. It can be if you're living somewhere, if you're living somewhere that is really, really, really dirt cheap and you're not doing a lot of that traveling, internationally.
Very true.
But freedom money, if you're really looking to have freedom money, you need to have an additional revenue stream. And so, I love that you focus on people
Oh,
who don't think it can happen because you have something that you are good at. Everybody has something that they're good at. We
everyone.
are in an age now where you can take that skill that you're good at and you can monetize it, and you can do that online. And here's the brilliant thing is that even if you don't know how to do it, you don't have to know how. You can hire people to do that. You can hire people on Fiverr. I dragged my mom out of retirement because I was like, people need your voice, right? And she doesn't know, like, she don't know all this stuff. I mean, she's been teaching, teaching herself, but she will, if she needs something done, she will hop her behind on Fiverr.
Mm-hmm.
She will find somebody to help her to write her, do her landing page, do
Absolutely.
her whatever. Like, you do not have to know how to do everything. And I actually created a custom GPT myself because I had this, with some of my clients. Um, Understanding how to create their own sales funnels, how to create high ticket offers and things like that. And so my custom GPT actually helps them to create that, to make that happen. So, but there's so much AI out there now. There's like one AI I was looking at the other day where it will build your website in like 30 seconds. So there's so many ways for you to make money online. You can become an affiliate. You don't even have to have your own product.
So true.
Um, but what you do have to have is the willingness to research. You're on YouTube, so you know how much valuable information people are putting out on YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube,
I call
even if
it YouTube University.
yeah, even if you can't afford to hire a coach, you can go on YouTube, you can learn. I try to listen to at least one teachable thing now because, like I said earlier, you don't know what you don't know. I don't know
Okay.
everything. I will tell my clients, I don't know everything. But if I don't know, I can go find somebody who does know.
Exactly. You are so right. Is there something
Uh,
that you would like to leave our viewers with, especially those that are wanting to be digital nomads and things like that? Is there one tip that you can leave the ladies?
so the one tip is that I will leave them with is um, AI is your friend right now.
That's right.
You can literally go on and put your expertise into AI and say, what are some online products, digital products, services, or things that I can do remotely to monetize my expertise?
Exactly. Oh
And
my gosh, I love that.
upload your CV to AI.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different ones now, and it will tell you what you can do. Look for opportunities. If you're not somebody who can come up with your own idea, become an affiliate for someone else. But the one thing that I will tell you is that life does not wait.
No.
It does not wait. I'm in France right now because for a funeral actually. And things like that help you to clarify, like to really understand that every day that we have is very precious. And so if what you want to do is become a digital nomad or you want to live an expat lifestyle, you do not have to do it expensively. I saw on YouTube the other day a lady who moved with her husband to, I think, Costa Rica, and they had like $65,000 in debt. But they moved to Greece, and her expenses were now so much lower. She was working remotely because they had monetized them moving abroad and showing people how they were doing it and how they were saving money. And so they monetized that YouTube channel. So there's so many different ways for people to do it. And I will actually give you a couple of resources that your viewers will be able to utilize to, look at some six-figure side hustles and some other stuff like that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Lori, for being on the show today. I have enjoyed every single thing that you have shared with me. It's been very exciting. I love that we have a lot of things in common and that we're speaking the same language. And I just love it. And you know what? Maybe I will see you in Morocco in September.
I know we do have to. I can't believe we're going to be there during the same time.
That's amazing. All right, Miss Lori, thank you. And remember to send me those links so I can make sure that I share them with everyone.
I will do. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Let's talk about it. I gotta admit, proud of who you become, and everything that you've done. Mother and daughter are always greater when they're together. Everything's better. Mother and daughter, oh, they're the greatest duo. Mother and daughter, oh, they're the greatest duo.
I don't get on TikTok like that.
It's not on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. That's on IG.
Anything you see on IG is on TikTok.